This is JordanTower with JT News. Today we will be discussing some other things. Smash that like button and that subscribe button. Today we're going to be discussing JayZ, okay? And how he got to a billy, okay? Now I think that Dr. Dre beat him to a billy. He just doesn't, put out Forbes, and hire a publicist to announce it. But JayZ got there, and rightfully so. And these are the brands that assisted him or he used to get there. No shame in that. It's business. It's JordanTower with JT News. Smash that like button, guys. We're going to break this down little by little. And hit that subscribe button. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Friday. It is Friday, TGIF. Remember that saying? It's Friday. Okay, so JayZ started this all obviously with music, okay? JayZ kind of walked him into the game. Then, he met up with Dame Dash after that, and they started their label, Rocafella Records, okay? Now, it was him, Biggs, and Dame Dash, and he became a top artist over the years there. They signed many acts, and eventually JayZ ended up like some trick happened where they sold the label to Def Jam in 2004 or 5, but JayZ was really buying it back and then ended up selling it back to Def Jam for more money. Same with what was the clothing line? Rocafella clothes. Wait, it wasn't Rocafella clothes. It was whatever. Anyways, they had a whole clothing line as well. I can't remember the name of the clothing line. I think I bought one thing from that clothing line. So the way JayZ really finessed the game before everybody else was how he sold his albums. Okay, he would sell albums. Oh, it was Rockaware clothes, but he would sell his albums so to make sure they went platinum. He was not going to chance it to the fans not supporting him. And this started with the Black Album. If you remember the Black Album, that was his last album with Rocafella Records with him, Dame Dash, and Biggs, right? The way he pre-sold 1 million albums is he did a deal with Heineken. He did a bunch of Heineken commercials around that time. I think he did $5 million deal with Heineken, which they bought 1 million albums, made sure it went platinum. And of course he went platinum, okay? Then after this happened, that's when they sold the label, all the acts on it. It all went to Def Jam, and it was some funny thing that happened, especially with the Rockaware clothing, where JayZ had bought it for $5 million from Dame Dash and sold it for $100 million or something like that. Dame Dash breaks that down better than anybody, okay? And I don't blame him for being mad, because this is something they started together as brothers. And yes, egos might have gotten involved and destroyed the company, but it's sad to see a company crumble that started really from just being entrepreneurs and believing in yourself, So then after this, JayZ kind of went on a hiatus. He was president of Def Jam, retired. He announced he was retired. Him and Beyonce were on a hiatus at this time. I knew they started dating around the Black Album. Then he released another album in the middle of that where it was like Lost Ones was on it, and he was, this is where he announced breaking up with Beyonce officially. And around this time he was president of Def Jam. I forget what album Lost Ones was on. Was it on Blueprint? It wasn't on Blueprint 3. It was before that. He was president of Def Jam. He was signing acts. This is where he signed Rihanna and everything else. And, it was, good times, man, But JayZ returned to the game when he did American Gangster album. So he did an album for the soundtrack. He did the soundtrack for American Gangster when that came out. And I think this is around the time he dropped. He stopped being retired, and he dropped Kingdom Come album, which did okay. And this is where Lost Ones was on. Okay, and then shortly after this time, he did Roc Nation, left Def Jam, started Roc Nation, which sounds like Live Nation. Maybe they did a whole deal together. Who knows? Okay, but anyways, his next album was Blueprint 3. Okay, go back to the ones that work. Blueprint 1, Blueprint 2, and now Blueprint 3, 2009. Now, the way he sold albums in this one, if you look at all the imagery in this one, I couldn't find a specific deal, but he doesn't rap about Jaguar at all in any of the songs, but they're in most of the videos. The Jaguar car, okay? So they obviously sponsored it. Who knows if they bought enough albums? Maybe that's how they flipped it. Who knows? But again, guaranteed platinum. And, he was the first one to do bundle packages, okay? People are doing that now where they're bundling, their tours and everything and merch, and it counts towards album sales. JayZ was one of the first people to do a type of bundle. JayZ, DJ Khaled just tried to do this with an energy drink and it didn't count, but they didn't do it right. You can't bundle it with an energy drink. The energy drink probably would have had to buy 1 million copies themselves for it to count, and it didn't count. That's why Khaled was throwing a hissy fit. And as time went, we had Magna Carta album, which is a great album, and that came with the deal with Samsung where they bought 1 million copies and it came on the new Samsung phone. And then after, he creates Tidal, Sprint buys a third of Tidal. And then all of a sudden, the 444 album is coming in all the Sprint phones that are bought. That they bought 1 million copies. He got a plaque for 444 before it even dropped. Okay, so he's very creative. I'm not downplaying him in that. I'm just saying he's very creative on making sure success happens, because with success comes more deals. Okay. Another genius thing he did was he bought into a company that had champagne. Cristal had said some unforgivable things about the culture and people. He was very big on making Cristal big in the culture up until 2000. When did he denounce it? Was it 2003 or 2006? It was one of those years. He denounced it because they came out and said they don't really like it, can't control who buys their liquor and everything. So he bought a champagne that was discontinued called Cartier, and it sold for $60 a bottle. And the Armand de Brigang, I'm probably saying it wrong, Brigand, whatever. They own this discontinued liquor, right? So he partnered with them. They repackaged it in a silver bottle and a gold bottle, and they called it Ace of Spades. And this was the liquor he was doing. So instead of selling it for $60 a bottle, now it's $300 a bottle. $250, $300 a bottle. And if you want it in a club, it's $1,000 a bottle, okay? And in 2014, he bought this whole company back from Armand de Brand. I don't know if he bought the whole company, Armand de Brand. That it was reported that he bought the whole company, Armand de Brand, Ace of Spades, champagne label. So he just bought the label back from them, okay? So he owns Ace of Spades straight out now, and they say this is worth $400 million, okay? Then, on top of that, he repackaged, so he tricked us from buying a $60 bottle of champagne to paying $300. Cost $13 to make. I mean, pure profit, right? It's liquid gold. And, hey, everybody does it. Why not? Why can't JayZ do business just like Moe and all these other companies? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just giving you guys a little, breakdown of the whole thing. Then we got Roc Nation. He has a whole company after he left Rocafella with Def Jam, right? Left them. He started his own Roc Nation label where he represents Cascade, who's a big DJ. J. Cole, who he signed at one point. He still signed him. DJ Khaled. He had Nipsey Hussle before his passing. He has Big Sean. Then he has a sports section. They just signed Kyrie Irving. Think of the percentages they get on sports contracts. He has Jaden Smith. He has like 50 artists. I guarantee you 40 of them you've never heard of before in your life. Then he has like 40, 50 sports people, okay? He's getting a piece, and sports contracts are huge. They're millions of dollars, and they're getting a percentage of this deal, okay? He even has Van Jones signed to him from CNN, okay? I mean, come on, right? So Roc Nation, just from all the money they get from that and being a label and everything, he's doing quite well, and that company's probably worth a couple $100 million. And then, you know, he has Tidal, which has a worth of a couple, I think $100 million now. But now that Sprint invested in it, right? I think Sprint, how much did Sprint actually put into Tidal? They bought a third of it. Sprint buys Tidal, right? So they bought 33%, and I think they paid, so they paid $200 million, right? So that automatically that values Tidal at $600 million, which JayZ probably owns 50%. Okay, so that would give him $300 million right there. Then he has the liquor company that's worth $300 million. Then he has Roc Nation. Then his whole catalog, and his not to mention, I didn't even mention this, but his Live Nation and JayZ, they did these deals worth like $200 million. Right there, he's a billionaire. I think right after he signed his latest Live Nation deal, it pretty much set him at $1 billion in 2017. A 10-year Live Nation deal, $200 million. Crazy, right? And then he probably has tons of other investments, you know? So that's how he's worth $1 billion. It doesn't mean he has $1 billion in his bank account. But if he liquidated all of his assets, he's worth $1 billion to Forbes. And that's pretty big. Now, Dr. Dre didn't do so many company deals. You know, he did the headphones deal, but he hasn't done a ton of those. If he did even one more, he probably would have got that $1 billion valuation. Or if he still held on to a piece of Beats by Dre, maybe he would be valued more. I don't know, because you know it's probably worth more today. You know, I don't know. Actually, Apple's the one that made it worth so much. They were willing to pay so much for it. You know, a lot of these companies like Apple and everything, they have to make big purchases like that. If you're worth $1 trillion, right, and you're generating, you know, billions of dollars every year, you have to do write-offs. You know, you have to write off buying a company. You know, you can write that off. If you don't, you give it all to the government. So you might as well buy a company that's an asset now. You know. Anyways, guys. Just breaking this down, I mean, I still believe Dr. Dre was probably the first billionaire because, you know, he got $750 million from the Beats deal. Now, obviously, they're going to calculate taxes and everything, so they probably didn't worth that. And JayZ has asset holdings. They don't calculate the taxes yet because he didn't sell them. It's just on paper he's worth this. So that's what I think. Anyways, guys, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will check you guys in the next one. Don't forget to hit that like button.